Anthropocentrism regards humans as separate and superior to nature, and holds that human life has intrinsic value while other entities, including animals and plants, are resources that may justifiably be exploited for the benefit of humankind.
Anthropocentrism is the belief that value is human-centered and the all other beings are means to human ends. According to Simpson et al. 2015, they believe that humans are the most significant species on the planet and has a value because it serves their interests. And also, anthropocentrism implies that only those actions that have humans as beneficiary are deemed worthwhile or significant.
Anthropocentric worldview can be traced back when Plato and Aristotle suggested an existing degree when it comes to the completeness and arrangement of natural entities. The degree started from lower and higher. So when it comes to the lower part, it is where the animals and plants are included. And when it comes to the superior part or the higher part, it is where the humans are included because they are all intelligent. There is also an Aristotelian scale wherein the great chain of being is derived. So it is said that nature was made for animals and animals were made for the sake of humans. In the Middle Ages, the anthropocentric worldview gained a lot more synthesis to St. Thomas Aquinas. He proposed a hierarchical ladder wherein God, the most holy, the most complete, and the most perfect, is at the pinnacle of it, followed by the angels, man, plants, and animals. It is said that man is the most significant and the central part of order in beings.
As told in the creation story in the book of Genesis in the Judeo-Christian Bible, it is said that humans are beholded with great power to control living creatures in nature itself. This statement has been translated by the great philosophers such as Francis Bacon, René Descartes, and Gottfried Leibniz. Anthropocentrism is described by most philosophers as humans possessing the control over nature. Furthermore, development of new knowledge about science aims to restore the natural entities of the world. The philosophical view of anthropocentrism have enlightened several philosophers. Philosophical systems such as Marxism, humanism, and existentialism supported the view of anthropocentrism, that humans have the power and freedom to control the world.
The great chain of being. The so-called great chain of being justifies the anthropocentric view, also known as scala nature. The great chain of being implies a structure composed of a great number of hierarchical beings, from the most basic and foundational elements up to the highest perfection. This notion can be traced back to the philosophy of Plato and Aristotle, who saw degrees of completeness and arrangement of all natural entities in a single scale of. In Aristotle's views of an earth-centered finite universe, humans, because of their intelligence, were regarded as superior to animals and plants. In Aristotle's hierarchical estimation of nature, plants are made for the use of animals, and animals were made for the sake of human persons. The Aristotelian scales follow the ordering of the different kinds of souls that animate being possess, that is, lowest are bloodless animals, next come fish, birds, and quadrupeds, and finally man. This stratification of the animal kingdom is explained in accordance with the gradient of vital heat. The more vital heat a creature has, the higher it will be ranked on the scale of nature.
There is a Christian version of the great chain of being, and it can be found in the Mendeleev synthesis of Saint Thomas Aquinas. The hierarchical ladder presented by Aquinas, at the peak is a transcendent God, followed by angel, human persons, Down to animals, plants, and inanimate entities, in this Mendeleev synthesis, humans are highly significant and central to the grand scheme of things. The universe was made for the express purpose of providing a stage on which to enact a drama starring man for the title role, Session 1995-160.
Finds continuation in the philosophies of René Descartes, Francis Bacon, and Gottfried Leibniz, as well as in the philosophies of the Renaissance Anthropocentric humanism up to the period of Enlightenment and up to the 20th century to Karl Marx and John Dewey. In all these different eras, humans are portrayed as a central fact of the universe, that humans had unlimited powers, potentials, and freedom. Leibniz thoughts sum up the meaning and impact of the great chain of being. He said that those beings which are higher or more perfect are more entitled to exist than the lower beings, and that the lower beings is subordinate to the existence of the higher beings.
The context of valuing things may differ on how people tries to emphasize certain objects. That also affects them on the way on how we treat it. In the utilitarian sense, recognizes instrumental value, yet sees intrinsic value in an opposite way. Intrinsic value or inherent describes how people only sees the utility of a subject because it has the right to exist. According to John Muir, 1994, some things doesn't have a value unless a human person attach a certain value on it that gives importance. Example is, humans only values animals because they have their own life needed to be processed, which didn't give any services or affections to us, yet given an accepted value.
From the word instrumental, it refers to an object or instrument. Instrumental value is the significance of a particular object in terms of the service it can do to provide and aid human needs. In short, it is up to us if something has a value. In the anthropocentric view, value is anthropogenic. When we say anthropogenic, means it caused by humans, meaning that humans have the ability to decide whether something is valuable or not. On the other hand, for Cox and Simpson, something is valued when it's valued for what it can do for the valuers. Feed them, shelter them, please them, inspire them, transform them. They believe if something has a value, it must be beneficial for human welfare, the useful functions, or the instrumental value in the service of human needs. Let's give one example. You have a computer that can be used as a medium of communication, serves as entertainment for human satisfaction, and many more. For some instance, you see a laptop that's much more better than your computer. You might buy it and sell your computer because it no longer has any instrumental value to you. Again, instrumental value is a choice that depends on us whether something has a value.
And now we will discuss the cause of anthropocentric view. The influence of anthropocentric worldwide view, justified by the motion of the great chain of being, has succeeded in subordinating nature to the whims and needs of humans. As the impact of environmental crisis has become increasingly evident, it helps to situate this human-centered way in the context of the pressing environmental crisis.
Destruction of water ecosystem. Fisher folks are finding it more difficult to catch fish. Kailangan pa nilang lumayo kasi alam naman natin ngayon na yung ocean natin ay unti-unti nang nasisira dahil sa human habits and practices. Katulad na lang ng pagtatapon ng mga basura kung saan-saan,
overfishing, destruction of coral reefs, and indiscriminate dumping of chemical wastes by factories. According to FAO, which is United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, 75% na daw yung na-stretch beyond their capacity. Nasa lower limit na din yung sustainable yield natin. And fishes are harvested in order to provide luxury food, yung mga mamahalin na restaurants, ganon, which is few lang yung nakaka-afford para mag-gain nila yung profits na mga nagre-rely sa dagat para sa mga everyday needs nila.
But until sa climate change, it does not account for all that is wrong in the environment. It is simply one of the myriad or the countless human-induced environmental crises that has a long-term negative consequences for humanity. According to Filipino environmentalist Angelina P. Galang, 2009, because of humans' overuse or overutilization of Earth resources, various species tend to be extinct, such as the degradation and alteration or the change of ecosystem, either good or bad, and the flattening of mountains and the reclamation of land from seas, or the process of creating land from oceans, river beds or lake beds, and the release of enormous amount or huge quantity of waste to the atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere, thus staining their carrying capacity.
This speech of Yabsano situates the view in terms of treating nature as if it existed only to fulfill our needs and desires. This reveals an argument in the Anthropocentrism, since nature can affect us way more than we can affect it, wherein this tarnishes the definition of the view, since it says that humans are superior of animals.
The anthropogenic interference of humans can lead to the destruction of water ecosystem. The destruction of the water ecosystem can cause by dumping waste of chemical in the ocean, overfishing, and destruction of coral reefs. Fisher folks who rely on the biodiversity of the water can lead into the scarcity and loss of livelihood. Commercial fishing boats sail 1,000 miles away, moving place to place, plundering reefs to reefs, harvesting species near in extinction to gain profits every day.
According to National Geographic, humans consume 50% of resources more than our planet can reproduce in a year. That is equivalent to 1.5 planets per year, and if this continues, by 2030, humans will use the equivalent of 2 planets each year. Anthropogenic interference or the environmental pollution caused by humans are at fault for causing imbalances in the environment. SANOS 2013 proclaimed that disasters like Typhoon Haya must not be called natural disasters. He said that it is natural when superstorms became too common in our lives. He also pointed out that extreme weather conditions are the result of our pursuit of economic growth and unsustainable consumption that has altered the climate.
The destruction of Philippine forests have hit close to home soil erosion, which causes landslide and flash floods during the typhoon season. It has led to the destruction of property and loss of lives. Moreover, scientists who heavily rely on forest flora and fauna are deprived of knowledge and raw materials for the discovery of new medicine. Sean McDuff pointed out to his book, which entitled The Death of Life, that the consequences of a reductionist view of the environment as an instrument is at the disposal of human hands. One of the causes of anthropogenic interference is habitat destruction. According to Reyes, 2003, 50% of the Philippine forests to supply raw materials for the colonizers' shipbuilding needs the spread of agriculture and for commercial logging. It was continued during 1960 and 1970 at the time of Spanish and American colonization.
However, even the poor people are partially to be blamed, killing the goose that lays golden eggs. So, to speak out, if they resort to dynamite and cyanide fishing, which consequently destroy the precious and essential coral reefs that serves as the breeding grounds for the fish. The commercialization of water ecosystem has also deforested mangrove trees, which are vital to the aquatic marine resources because, like corals, mangroves serves as the breeding grounds or nurseries of the aquatic animals. Unfortunately, mangroves are being cut to give way to construction of fish ponds, shrimp farms, hotels, and houses. The Philippine Biodiversity Conservation Priorities, or PBCP, reports that in the last 30 years, miles and miles of mangrove trees are deforested, not only in the Philippines, but also the neighborhood countries as well. Over a long haul, the destruction of mangrove forests left coastlines effectively dead and consequently many fishermen are being affected.
The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, confirms that the increase in greenhouse gases are not from the natural mechanisms. The IPCC's working group have proved that human activities have caused the rise of carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide. According to Yale 2015, countries like the United States of America, China, Russia, India, and Japan are to blame, mainly because they base their progress on carbon-intensive industries. These countries have the highest rate of carbon emission. Furthermore, Qatar, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Denmark, and United States are the countries that occupy the top spots on Earth's biocapacity. All of these countries consume the Earth's resources more than any nation in the world and emits greenhouse gases.